Okay, let's bring Improvement and Service Committee to order. Let it be recorded. Nicholson, Worry, Netting, Vanderleest are present. Approval of the minutes from the regular meeting on November 30th, 2016. Motion by Vanderleest, second by Netting, under discussion. You're not all in favor. Number 2, approval of the agenda. Motion by Vanderleest to approve, second by Netting, under discussion. You're not all in favor.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 3, consideration of possible action on request Craig Baston to have Department of Public Works handle snow removal along Humboldt Road. Director Grenier.
We had this come before us, I think originally November 30th. Just to refresh your memory, we received a letter from Craig Baston stating that in consideration of the unprecedented sidewalk footage, it's 2,296 lineal feet along Humboldt Road. They're requesting special consideration from the Improvement Service Committee and Department of Public Works with regard to snow removal. The entire lineal footage fronts on undeveloped farmland, and they would request that since they are not equipped to maintain this amount of area, either the city maintain the sidewalks or waive snow removal entirely. We cannot waive snow removal. That would be,
It's an ordinance.
well, it is, and we can't simply just ignore the ordinance. You may remember we had a unfortunate instance several years ago where a gentleman was struck due to an unplowed sidewalk that required us to revise our ordinance to require snow removal within a certain period of time. So I think by waiving the requirement to clear that sidewalk, we would be incurring liability on behalf of the city. I did speak with the operations division. We do the snow removal along Huron Road. So we do have a piece of equipment out in that area. We're going to have to complete the snow removal in front of the Arnie Wolf Soccer Complex. So we're going to have to come off of Huron all the way down to Arnie Wolf and then go back over to Huron. We're passing by the Baston property, and I agree that this is kind of a very unique situation with almost 2,300 lineal feet of undeveloped farmland. If the committee were so inclined to have Public Works do the snow removal out here, what we would request is a condition that that approval extend until such time that the property is sold or developed.
What are the wishes of the committee, or questions, concerns?
Mr. Baston here?
Mr. Baston and Mr. Baston are here.
Okay, move to suspend the rules to hear from it just.
Motion to suspend the rules for interested parties. There's a second. Under discussion, you're not all in favor. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Craig Baston, 3307 Humboldt Road, Green Bay. As Steve said, we're literally breaking some new ground here. There is a considerable amount, and for us to have to remove the snow would require us to buy some equipment that, you know, we couldn't justify. It is undeveloped. It doesn't generate that much income. It's rented currently as farmland. It's not, there aren't any improved lots or anything along that street. So it's basically open land.
Right. Any other questions for the Bastons? If not, I'll entertain a motion to return to regular order of business.
Second.
Hey, motion and a second to return to regular order of business. Under discussion, here none, all in favor. Nays, motion carried. Okay, we're in regular order of business. What are the wishes of the committee?
I'll make a motion for the city to clear that area since we're going to Arnie Wolf anyway. And as long as, I guess, what was the condition?
I would say until sold or developed.
Okay, I'll include that condition.
Okay, there's a motion by Worry, second by,
Do we need a hold harmless or anything?
We would not, because it's
I need a
in city
second
right
first,
away.
please.
Okay, I'll second it.
Second by Netting, under discussion. Dave?
No, I think it makes sense, and, you know, basically, we're going one way down the sidewalk on one side of the street to clear Arnie Wolf. We'll go on the other side and clear this, and then come on, you know, on our way back. That's basically what we're doing, right?
Well, if,
We're pretty close.
otherwise, what we would do is we would actually travel down the shoulder of the road, just go clear in front of Arnie Wolf, then travel down the shoulder back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's reasonable. It's something that hasn't come before us before, and you know, I don't know how quickly the land's going to get developed, you know, I guess nobody knows at this point, but I understand your concern, I know you paid a substantial assessment on it.
With a brand-new road in front, we're hoping to develop it real quick.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
anything else?
There is a considerable amount there to be developed, so, you know, hopefully we can have a good, long working relationship with the city.
Yeah, you know, the only issue that may surface at some point is if some of it is sold and not all of it yet, you know, then where do you draw the line? you know?
We would do it on a parcel-by-parcel
Yeah,
basis.
yeah, okay. If there are issues in the future, it can be brought before us and we can talk about it.
Anything else, Dave?
No.
Okay, Barb?
Hi, I would just like to say this is in my district, and I would urge you to support this. They did pay a huge assessment, so I'm just adding my voice to theirs and asking for your approval for this. Thank you.
Point well taken.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 4, consideration with possible action on request from Alderman Wery to examine changing method of approving and paying for all street improvements, held over November 30th. Alderman Wery.
I don't know if anybody else is here for this item. I had one resident who very much wanted to be here for it, couldn't make it tonight, so I don't know if this hasn't been a hot
Hold until they
button
come.
issue. So,
It's up to you.
Steve has a chart of what the current assessment factors are, and you know, maybe it would be educational if we walk through this and.
Well, when we amended the memo, Alderman Nennick had this information, and Alderman Nicholson asked us to include it. I think my instructions got a little garbled last week when I was gone, and instead we attached the assessment ordinance, which we did not need. We wanted the actual assessment factors. You have those in front of you now. If we are indeed only talking about pavement, we can skip the entire first page and go right to page 2.
Basically, Steve, when it comes to the sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water, properties are assessed with that when they're first developed.
Correct,
They're
and
not-
they're not reassessed at any time in the future.
They're not reassessed when there's resurfacing.
And
reconstruction.
also, the wheel tax can't be used for those purposes. It has to be for transportation purposes, so sanitary and storm sewer would not apply.
So that's not an issue.
Correct. So what you see are the 2015 and 2000, they're listed here as proposed, but they're actually the 2016 rates that were adopted. We start off with an assessment factor. So that's at the top. For asphalt pavement, the assessment factor is $115, and for concrete pavement, it's $205. Now, new streets, never constructed before, so if we're going through a farm field, that's where you see the type A street, and that's full assessment. Residential zones never pay more for asphalt versus concrete. So that's why under a residential zone for type A street, it's 115, not a 205. A type B street would be a rural street, so something out on the outer edges of town that doesn't have curb and gutter but has a ditch line. And if we urbanize that to put curb and gutter in and add sewer to it, that's a type B street. There is, under our ordinance, there's a reduction to the assessment factor for that. So residential zones are $69. An asphalt street in any other zone classification is $103.50 per front foot. A concrete street in any other zone classification is $184.50. Type C streets are our most common reconstruct streets. That's an existing street that's urbanized with curb and gutter that's being reconstructed. So we have local streets in residential zone, $34.50 per front foot. If you happen to be on a heavy truck traffic or bus route in residential zone, that's further reduced down to $31.05 per front foot. All other zone classifications, asphalt streets are $74.80 per front foot, and concrete paved streets are $133.30. If you happen to fall on a STP, a Surface Transportation Program, or NHS, National Highway System, because we bring in quite a bit of money from the state and feds for those types of projects typically, and because they have long route, it's more than just local traffic. We're bringing in state trunk highway traffic, essentially. Okay, We don't want to pass that assessment for that other traffic onto the residents. So if it's an STP or NHS street in a residential zone, it's $23 a front foot as opposed to $34.50. Residential on a bus or heavy traffic route goes down to $20.70 per front foot versus $31.05. And all other zone classifications are exactly the same on the SDP or NHS, $74.80 on an asphalt street or $133.30 for a concrete street. Asphalt resurfacing, this is our annual resurfacing program. Residentially zoned property is $17 per front foot. Residential zone on a bus or heavy traffic road is $15.30 per front foot. And all other zone classifications, $25.60 per front foot. By way of refreshing your memory, on a typical year, we generate about $1.1 million in assessments using these variety of factors depending on the mix of streets that we reconstruct or resurface.
One quick question, Steve, on the interest rate here, that's on the unpaid, in other words, how many years do they get to actually pay it off through their tax, and it goes on the tax bill? Is that how it works?
That is correct. Anything, when the assessment bill comes out, when the street's been accepted and formally dedicated through common council, we, at the next, before the next meeting, we will send out the bills. The bills are due in full, net 30. You can pay any, all, or some. Anything that remains unpaid after 30 days goes to taxes. It's paid out in 5 equal annual installments, and the assessment, or the interest rate is added to that because we actually have to borrow money to pay off the contract. So we bond, so it's the bonding rate plus 2%, and that 2% goes primarily to the clerk's office to offset the administrative charges for sending the bills out over the next 5 years.
So they got a 5-year window there, is what you're saying?
Correct. Now, there are also provisions under the ordinance that if somebody's able to demonstrate financial hardship, that can be extended out for as much as 10 years.
Okay. It's good information to know, thank you.
Yeah. Of that 1.1 million, how much is typically residential versus other classifications?
It's hard to tell.
Okay, varies from year to year.
Well, it varies based on the mix of streets we have. If we have a Military Avenue, for instance, that skews the numbers for other than residential. With the resurfacing, anything that you see here with the parcels in a resurfacing program, that's almost always residential. We have some other than residential. There may be some limited commercial. We had a discussion about a piece of property at council on, I believe, 9th Street. Okay, so that's in a residential zone, but it's residential office or something of that nature. Okay, those happen from time to time, but it's not as frequent as you might think. When we're in a resurfacing program, it's almost exclusively residential. Reconstructs can be highly variable. We may reconstruct a street that's in a more commercial area, or we may reconstruct a residential street. Varies on what the program needs are.
Alderman Worry?
Well, I think we have a big discussion ahead on wheel tax and other items, and the one person who really wanted to talk to it's not here. I would like, this is new information, and I think all the elder people should have, so definitely if you could get this to
Will do.
all the elders, I think they'd be interested in the different rates for the different streets, so.
Yeah, it's one of those things, it's, that formula I think has been around a long, long time, and I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to it, but apparently when that ordinance was written, it was felt that for other than residential zones, non-residential zones ought to pay more, whether it's multifamily properties or commercial properties, that they ought to pay a larger percentage of the infrastructure costs. And I don't know if that's fair or not. I think we can have that discussion, but if we go to a wheel tax, I would, and I don't know if there are any numbers out there, but it applies to all vehicles, not only residential, vehicles owned by residents, but also to commercial vehicles. So I believe, right?
It does, but there are a list of those types of vehicles which are exempt that was included in your finance, from the finance committee. And just so that we're clear, when we adopted these assessment rates back in the spring, this was included in the packet, so it was sent out to all the alders at that time. We do that every year.
Right. Right, these are the rates that we get every year, but the method is defined in the ordinance.
Correct.
One quick question. The city is still paying about, is it 60, in other words, 2/3 of those street, in other words, the resident is paying about 1/3, is that how it works, Steve, pretty close to that figure?
It depends. I would say, without looking at numbers right now, we do actually run some analyses on that, and to try to estimate what that number is off the top of my head, I would not feel comfortable doing that right now, but we do have them.
Okay.
You can
We
give them
can
a call
provide that
tomorrow.
to you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Worry,
Okay, if you want to table it until you're interested.
Yeah, I'd make a
parties
motion to hold this
in
till the next
okay,
meeting.
Worry makes a motion to hold it to our next meeting.
it. Second.
Second by Nutting, under discussion. You're none, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. I can excuse myself. If I don't see anybody, well, I'll see everybody next week.
Yeah, okay.
Have a good evening, Andy.
Sammy.
You too.
This is some interesting stuff.
All right, Alderman Nicholson is excused, and Alderman Ware will take over the rest of the meeting. I do notice some people in the audience. Are you here for a particular item?
He's here for high school project.
Oh,
just to
okay.
See how this all works.
Certainly. Well, if you ever have any questions, just raise your hand. Come on. Number 5 is consideration with possible action on the review and approval of the 2017 sanitary district rates. Director.
We'll turn that over to Matt Heckenley, the utility manager.
Every year, we go through an explanation of the sanitary sewer rates that are adopted, modified and adopted, to pay for sanitary sewer treatment and conveyance. The first part is going through the budget. The budget was adopted last month. Then what we do is enter in data as far as how much historically flows, the strengths of the waste that was treated, the cost from the treatment plant itself that is going to be conveyed to us, their rates, which were adopted last week. We drop that into a 14-page spreadsheet, and we come up with a new rate that is used to charge our residents of the city of Green Bay on a cost per cubic foot basis. What we've noticed over the past several years is that our volumes are going up, our strengths are going up of our waste, and our charges are going up from the wastewater treatment plant. So, plus our needs for keeping the sanitary district functioning has also gone up. So in essence, the overall rates will be going up, which is never a good thing. We scrutinize the budgets. We have mandates out there from the EPA and the DNR to improve our functionality of our sanitary district. We are making strides in doing that, but there is a lot of unattended infrastructure beneath the ground that goes unchecked, and as such, we're trying to make improvements on that. So getting back to the rates, the sewer service charge is actually made up of two components, a customer charge and a volume charge. The customer charge is a monthly charge that the residents see. So a typical resident on a monthly basis will be at $13, and a quarterly customer will be at $27.60. And then the volume charge is converted, the strengths and the volume is converted to strictly a volume charge. And we're at a total of $4.31 for a total charge per cubic foot of waste delivered to the wastewater treatment plant. So the rates for the Green Bay Metropolitan Sewage District for volume is roughly 81 cents per 1,000 gallons, 60 cents per pound of DOD, 56 cents per pound for suspended solids, 76 cents for phosphorus, and 90 cents for PKN, nitrogen. Again, that all gets put into a fancy spreadsheet, and we come up with a new rate. Now, the good news is, in 2016, we were looking at a increase of $14 per quarter for our residents. This year, we are looking at roughly a $13 per quarter. So we were able to drop that rate by roughly $1 per quarter, or $4 a year. And that's assuming 64,000 gallons of waste being used. Questions?
Well, again, there's two components to the wastewater charge. One of them is what we're charged from Green Bay Metropolitan Sewage District, or New Water, and that's essentially a pass-through charge that we send on. That's for the interceptors and for treatment of the waste. And then we have our local collection sewers, and that's a charge that, that we set based on our infrastructure needs and things of that nature. So when you blend those two together, that's where we come up with the overall rates that Matt was talking
The
about.
$4.31.
One quick question on,
Councilman Vanderleest?
when they have like storm, there's a charge on the storm.
That's the next item we'll be
Well, that's
talking
enough,
about.
okay, that's the next item, okay. I'm just
The
trying to get-
stormwater fee is, on your water bill, you'll see three charges typically. One is for the actual water used, one is the sanitary sewer charge, and the other is the stormwater fee, which, as Director Grunier stated, we'll bring up next.
So we're saving them a little bit of money on the first.
On the sanitary
on the
rate,
sanitary.
correct.
That's good sound. you know,
We're
good.
trying.
I know I ask this every year, but I'm gonna ask it again, just to refresh my memory. Rate stabilization, and that's because we anticipate some significant increases with what's being done and with the treatment, right? So we're trying to phase it in. Am I
The
right?
budgetary number of rate stabilization, I believe we have $2 million in the budget. That's more of a catastrophic contingency, if you want to call it that. Finance actually recommended that we have 10% of our operating budget, and the 2 million is shy of that, actually. So in the past, we were at $1 million, and over the past 2 years, we've upped it to 2 million.
Historically, yes, that rate stabilization has been used for that purpose, but during an audit 2 years ago, from the financial firm that does city audits, when they reviewed the sanitary district budgets, it wasn't a recommendation. It was a pretty clear directive that we needed to start building that cash reserve for catastrophic purposes. So we've been utilizing that line item in the account. And as a result of that, we've used that rate stabilization money to help dampen some of these large spikes that we saw coming out of GBMSD over the years. We've not been able to do that, which is why we've seen the large increases over the last couple of years. We've taken that rate stabilization money, put it into the cash reserves that the financial auditing firm is requiring us to do, and that's not left any for rate stabilization. So the last couple of years, we've seen some pretty hefty hits that have come through from GBMSD, and I would say probably the next 3 to 5 years, we're probably looking at same thing.
Right now, their large wastewater treatment project, the resource to recovery solids handling project, they have met their initial capital cost. So their rate for that project is gonna cap off. However, there are significant other major capital projects in the works, one that could be upwards to $300 million. And the project that they are undertaking right now for the solids is only $100 million. So we're looking at significant costs in the upcoming future from them.
Yes, he did say only 100 million.
when we finish out the year, we're usually pretty close to what we budgeted and we add all the costs in there.
Pretty close. Ed's done a great job of trying to estimate this stuff
Yeah.
a year ahead of time and
Yeah.
then reacting as we've gone, so.
Thank
I'm okay with it.
thank you. You answered my question, I think, on the nice chart you have here. For 15 or 20 years, we had a nice, very flat rate, it barely went
Yeah.
up. In the last 5, 7, 8 years, it's really spiked, and it sounds like another 3, 4, 5 years. It's still
At
gonna-
least.
Okay. I know we'll get questions on this, it comes up. and-
Well, and I think if you take a look at that, again, there's two components to it. One of them is the pass-through and one of them is is our cost. We've had some increases in our costs over the last several years as well, and just by way of refreshing everyone's memory, the EPA came to us and told us that we had to implement a CMOM program. Okay, and that's
Capacity management, operation, and maintenance.
maintenance. So basically, the CMOM takes a look at how you operate your infrastructure. And if there are deficiencies in the infrastructure, you're required to correct those. Changes in how you operate your system, how you maintain that system over time. A CMOM is a pretty significant deal. I think we're the third or fourth municipality in the state of Wisconsin to be hit with a CMOM. Ultimately, everyone's going to get them, but being a larger city, obviously, we're first in line to get that. And a lot of those, historically, once you build a sewer and you put it underground, it's there and it takes the wastewater away, and as long as it doesn't back up in your basement, everybody's happy. Well, that's no longer the case. They want active management of that system. So active management of that system means acquisition of more equipment, investing more time, material, and labor in maintaining those sewers. So you see our staff is out jetting and cleaning and televising those sewers on a much more frequent basis than we have in the past. And that's one of the reasons that in 2016, we did the reorganization. Because of some of the things that were inherent with that CMOM program, to simply have the sewer section as a division or a section under operations division, that was not doing it justice. We needed somebody who had not only the time, but the expertise in sewers management to get involved, to take on some of the things that are coming out of the CMOM. So Matt being the head of our old sewer section in engineering, he's got both the engineering background and the operations. We made Matt the utility manager and put him over the sewers, took that out of operations division, so it gets the attention that it truly deserves. And that's why you'll see our rates have gone up as well, but the larger impact to the user has been through these capital investments that are going on at the wastewater treatment plant.
How about those smart manhole covers that you've put in? How's that help the situation?
They're getting us some interesting data. That can be a presentation on itself, but unfortunately, what we're finding is we have leaky sewers. So we're seeing these past couple rain events that have occurred in October and November. We're seeing spikes where almost immediately during the rain event, which is telling us we have direct inflow into our sanitary system. And I have 2 covers on the 9th Street sewer. Both of them ultimately take the flow from Lambeau Field. I have one at 9th and 14th. Unfortunately, it's on a T intersection, and that one is showing me the most significant impact during rain events. But I don't know if it's coming from the west or coming from the south. So in the 2017 budget, there's actually money set aside for additional covers. So we can start tracking down exactly where this additional clean water is coming from, and then ultimately get rid of it to hopefully reduce the amount of water going to the wastewater treatment plant that we ultimately then have to pay for cleaning clean water. I have then 2 more covers on 2 siphons over, one off of Mason in the East River and one over by East High, where the sanitary sewers go under the East River in what's known as a siphon. And those are typically a maintenance nightmare. They were actually built in 1934. by the Green Bay Metropolitan Sewage District. We acquired them in the 1980s in a as-is condition. We haven't had problems with them.
Is that the type that you put liners in then if you do have a problem?
Lining a siphon is very difficult because the nature of a siphon is that majority of the water, your sewer pipe will have water in it 100% of the time. It's just like siphoning gas or whatever. You're building a pressure up and the pressure forces that liquid through at all times. So one side is slightly higher than the other, but it actually goes down and pushes the liquid and waste through the other side. They're a maintenance nightmare, and primarily last December, 1 year ago today, we had about 5 inches of rain over a 2-day period. We had significant basement backups in the Shawano area, the Norwood area. We had some backups over off of East Mason and over by the East River, and it was primarily due to inflow and infiltration. So what we're trying to do is, for the 2 siphons, get a handle on any emergencies that may be coming. So we get an advance warning, so we can get out there and either set up pumps or some sort of bypass. And the same thing with the 2 manhole smart covers off of 9th Street right now. It's, I actually have a meeting with the sewage treatment plant. They're interested in possibly acquiring some in 2017 as well. So
They're working well enough that we're interested in getting more.
We had talked about it, when you would put
Well,
them in.
it's kind of funny. Matt was talking about some of the things we've been able to glean information on. If you give a guy a new toy, he's gonna play with it. You give an engineer some new technology, he's gonna play with it. So if you give a male engineer a new technological toy, we're like a kid in a candy store. So when we first got these covers in, and Matt and I were talking about, well, we want to get these out there and see exactly what they can do, put them through their paces to kind of see how sensitive they are. So we picked some areas out actually over in the Stadium District and installed them on some sanitary sewers, and we shortened the time spans up so that we could really zoom in on times and see what was going on. And we were able to determine that in the 20 minutes leading up to kickoff and in the 20 minutes during halftime, we saw massive spikes in sanitary sewer flows over in the Stadium District. And what it is at halftime and right before the game, people are using the bathroom, and then they sit down to watch the game, and at halftime they get up and use the bathroom again. And we're actually able to see that with these covers. We're seeing these time spikes, and we correlated it back to game time. So we're like, okay, we know these things work and we know how sensitive they are. Now let's get them out deployed and start doing some real work with them. So yeah, they're really cool pieces of equipment to work with.
Okay. The other question is about the water main breaks. Are you running into a lot of it now with the cold weather coming?
We actually don't see a lot of that in real time. That's handled directly through Green Bay Water Utility. Typically what we see is excavation permits that are coming in, and then when the excavation permits come in, that triggers our process to mark that area for permanent repair of the pavement in the spring. We haven't seen a big uptick in that yet because the cold weather really has just set in, so I don't think the frost penetration into the ground has gotten very deep. Much as it pains me to say it, I'm hoping that we get a little bit of snow for insulation cover, because that helps stop stops the frost from driving deep, as much as I hate snow.
Didn't the 1 year, a few years back, they were kind of concerned that the sanitary sewers might have a problem as far as the
We're
frost?
concerned it might get that deep, yeah.
Hopefully it's not that bad this winter.
I hope not.
I'm gonna steer us back to the sanitary district rates, but we can keep talking about that under the director report if you want. Any other questions on the rates?
No, I think that our staff has done a good job preparing this as they usually do and answered my questions. So I'd make a motion to approve the sanitary sewer district budget.
Second.
2017.
Alderman Nenning, second by Alderman Vanderleest. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks for coming. Hopefully someone entertaining.
I'd like to hear more about the sewers.
Okay. Number 6, consideration with possible action on the review and approval of the 2017 stormwater utility rates.
This one's a little easier to explain. Unfortunately, just as bad of outcome. This rate is actually fairly simple to prepare. It's the budget divided by the number of equivalent runoff units. And this is the first time in 7 years that we'll be raising the rate. And we were able to keep the rate down for the past 6 years. We're running out of, I'll call it reserves. We have significant infrastructure projects and stormwater projects that need to be undertaken. And as Director Grenier stated, in the sanitary side, we have sewer cleaning needs. And as such, we need to raise our rates. So we are actually increasing our monthly charge from this year from $5.87 on a monthly basis to $6.46. And on a annual charge, what that means is roughly a $7 increase from $7.47 to $77.48 per ERU, or equivalent runoff rate.
Any questions on this one?
Big part of it is capital
Yeah.
projects. You have more retention ponds, that kind of stuff.
Well, the capital projects not only include retention ponds, but also this is how we pay for storm sewer construction. So any projects that we have, road projects that,
Reconstruction.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like capital and some equipment repairs too is kind of jumped up a bit.
And part of those equipment repairs are the street sweepers.
Alderman Vanderleest, any questions on this one?
So basically, it's going to $6.46 per month then.
Correct.
Previously, it was $5.87.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alderman
Second.
Vanderleest, second by Alderman Nenning to approve. Discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Last but not least, I thought we said we were going to move you up higher in the
It does,
agenda.
you have public people here that, to deal with first, so I understand. I never complain.
Consideration with possible action on the report of the purchasing manager, request pre-approval to award the purchase of traffic control equipment and streetlight poles, luminaires, and accessories to the low responsive and responsible bidders.
We have 2 bids out on the street right now that the bids will be open next Monday. These are funded with $2016. Basically, the department determines how much money they have left. These orders go into stock, and they want to spend. The traffic control equipment is one entity, and then poles and luminaires. We purchase this a couple times a year. It's the same stuff. We usually get good representation on the bids and award to the low bidder. We're asking for pre-approval so that we can make the awards. Otherwise, you'd have to wait until the next council meeting in January, and we'd have a problem spending that 2016 money. So we'll report back the results, but we're with asking your permission to go ahead and make the award, issue the purchase orders to the low bidders.
Okay. I'd move to authorize, staff to award the purchase orders based on the lowest qualified vendor.
Motion by Alderman Nenning, is there a second?
Motion to approve.
Second by Alderman Vanderleest, under discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How much money are you looking at, sir?
It's, both of them are about 50,000 apiece. One's 50, one's 52. And again, this is
This
just
is-
mainstream
And
traffic
this is all
equipment.
money that's in the 2016 budget. We're just trying to exhaust that budget money so we have the poles we need. We oftentimes, throughout the course of the year, we don't spend that money down because that's also used for knockdowns or traffic accidents or things of that nature. So we try to wait until late in the year to find out what did we need, and now what do we need to put in for replenishment of stock, and then plan ahead to start some projects early in the year. We need to have that inventory in-house, so it's all we're doing is inventory replenishment here to.
Makes sense, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, thank you. Last year, Steve, Director's Report, recent
Okay,
activities.
Just got a couple of things for you. First off, personnel has been a little bit of a challenge again lately. We lost another clerk typist. She had a fantastic opportunity. Mickey Detman is retiring from print shop after, I believe, 38 years or something like that. So Natalie Markles was applied for the position, and was awarded that position. So we wish Natalie well moving on to the print shop. She was an incredible employee. Print shop's getting a fantastic person there, but unfortunately, it's going to put a short staffed, and she is the lead who handles most of the phone calls coming in for operations division, and we happen to be in snow season. So we've got some challenges there. Happy to report that Matt is with us tonight because the assistant director is taking off with his family to visit her family in the Philippines, but Jim will be gone until January 6th. So then we have one of the other assistant city engineers is out on maternity leave until after the first of the year. So the work of 4 people is currently being split between Matt and myself, and we're also trying to manage all the staff that Kristen did. So if you're trying to get a hold of either one of us over the next, about the next month, and we're a little bit delinquent in getting back to you, we just ask for some, ask for your, your understanding on that.
This holiday season.
I think perhaps former Alderman Danziger, he's looking for something to do.
There you go.
He can answer some calls.
I like that
What do you
idea.
think? Let's bring him in.
Last week, we had our first snow event of the season, and I was very, very pleased with how staff handled that event. We're back in operation in the morning. It was a challenging snowfall to deal with based on the timing of how it came down and how we worked around the home Packer game, but overall, I think things went pretty well. We are expecting another pretty significant event Friday into Saturday, so staff is gearing up, and I talked to Operations Division just before I came down here tonight. We are getting together tomorrow morning to start the game planning for that snow event. One last thing relative to procedure that I just wanted to bring to your attention. At the last meeting of Improvement Service Committee, one of the items that we discussed was I don't seem to have my notes immediately handy here. One of the items that we discussed was changes to the bunker program. And we adopted what was referred to as Alternative 2, which was sites on both the east and west, and then some restriction in, or change in the operating hours. And on that Alternative 2, we modified the operating hours as Monday through Thursday, 7 to 3, Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then we stated second and fourth Saturday of the month, 7 to 12. That was to eliminate the illegal dumping of residential move-outs. And what we see is an increase in that move-out at the beginning and the end of the month. That was a typo or a scrivener's error. It should have read second and third Saturdays of the month to be consistent with Alternative 1 and to accomplish the objective that we had stated. I did verify that with the Operations Director, Chris Pirlot, that it was indeed a scrivener's error, so we want to enter that into the record that what you did actually approve was Saturday operations on second and third, not second and fourth Saturdays of the month. The last thing I had is, as a committee, we won't be seeing each other again until after the first of the year. Obviously, I'll be seeing you all next week at Common Council, but we won't be together as a committee. So staff wishes to express its appreciation to the committee for helping us do what we do on a daily basis, and wish you all a happy holidays and time with your families.
And Merry Christmas to you as well.
Yep.
Happy holidays.
Same to you.
Oh.
Thanks for putting up with us.
Also to Matt.
Happy to do it,
Also to you,
Alderman, I'm
Matt, as
happy to do
well.
it. This is,
Nice to meet you, Matt.
this is,
I tried to talk to you on the phone a few times, but you're a busy guy.
I'm beyond busy.
Okay.
You know, one thing, in terms of the schedule at the next meeting, I was talking to Donnie on the way out. Maybe it would make sense at least to start the meeting as a joint meeting of Park and INS. It's the same 4 people. Have, you know, kind of have a joint thing to talk about the Excess Stadium.
That'd be a good idea.
Make one, you know, make a
I mean, is that for next week, for the next meeting in January?
Yeah.
It's up to you guys.
well,
Right, because
to run the entire
otherwise-
meeting as a joint meeting, we could start off with one item, then if you wanted to take the Parks agenda and our agenda afterward. Joint Personnel and Finance does a joint meeting once a year.
Sure, yeah,
So it'd be a little bit of
Yeah.
an oddity, but it's not entirely without precedent.
yeah. You know, I guess it depends how much is on each agenda, that kind of thing too, but on the stadium thing, you know, we
Mhm.
can't approve park, you know, things in isolation from the public works, you know, considerations. We
Or
have to
maybe we'll
look
just
at
have, we'll have a joint meeting and then you can take up the Parks
Yeah.
meeting and then
Agenda.
us. Well, we'll have 3 meetings that night.
Right,
Basically.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe something like that will work, I didn't talk to Donnie.
Oh, I'm sure it will. The only other thing I did want to bring up, and I don't need feedback from you tonight, if you just want to call me or email me at some time over the next couple of weeks. As Alderman Nicholson indicated earlier, he has expressed an interest because of Wednesday night conflicts to start either Parks or INS. And Donnie and I talked, we're both fine with it. We don't care who goes first. But he's expressed an interest in starting the meetings at 4 PM. So check your calendars, take a look at things, and let me know if that's going to work for you or not, so that I can get back to Alderman Nicholson, and we can, if we need to change the start time of both of those meetings.
4 o'clock is okay with me.
Yeah, I'm okay too.
Right now, it's all right.
Okay,
All right.
so what we can do is we'll tentatively, I'll work it out with Donnie as to who's going first, but at least one of the meetings will start at 4, and if we need to adjust that as time goes on,
Perfect.
we'll take care of that. Excellent.
All right. Motion to adjourn
Second.
by Alderman Nenning, second by Alderman Vanderleest. Those in favor?
Aye,
Opposed? Motion carried. We are done.
okay, good job.
Yes.
How are we doing?
Thank you.